All right, he's the honcho behind the New Hampshire Journal, nhjournal.com. You know him as my producer over at 96.9 WTKK years ago.
That
Mike,
is funny.
Mike.
That is great. So I was at the Donald Trump event in Windham, New Hampshire, and I had a lot of people recognize me once I start talking, whatever. And what was great is I ran to about a dozen former WTKK listeners. None of them asked about you, Shattuck. Not
That is
one.
not true. You know, the statute of limitations
absolutely great.
Statute of limitations has run out now. So can I just be honest about all those guests you asked me to reach out?
You never did you?
I never did. I never did.
No,
never made a single phone call.
You were exactly the producer that I thought you would be. Exactly.
Well, now I've hit the big time with the Burn Barrel podcast, and of course my huge show, number 6 market in Connecticut, WTIC. But I guess New Hampshire is the big time for primaries, as Donald Trump is destroying everybody. Voters say that they would vote for him. 62% they would vote for Trump, regardless of felony convictions, and 57% say they'd vote for him from jail, a la James Michael Curley. I mean, this guy, it's done. It's finished in New Hampshire.
To me, the language of the jail question is absolutely fascinating. It was a poll with New Hampshire Journal and Coefficient, which is a Republican-leaning pollster out of Kansas City. And so because I helped craft the questions. And I said, I don't want any wiggle room here. So the question is, would you vote to make Donald Trump president if he were, quote, serving time in prison on election day? Other than making it like if you were behind bars, I don't know how to be more explicit. And 57% of New Hampshire Republicans said yes. So that's pretty strong. What's interesting, though, is that only 43% said that they were backing for him if the primary were today for the GOP nominee. Ron DeSantis and Chris Christie tied in for second place at 9%. Nikki Haley, 7%. Tim Scott tied with Vivek Ramaswamy at 5%. And then who cares what the rest? Mike Pence just did a big tour through New Hampshire, and there's a lot of media buzz about, he's really picking it up. He's taking on Trump. He's getting a spark of life. Yeah, he's at 3%. So
yeah, there's video out of him today, a new campaign out of him filling his truck up with gas when he hasn't pressed the fuel button.
Exactly. It's beeping at him the whole time. It's hilarious. Look, I've met the vice president several times. I've interviewed him, seen him speak. He is a nice guy. He would be a fine president. Look, all these, and Nikki Haley would be fine president. Tim Scott, fine president. They're all, they're fine. But as a candidate, there's no lane. There's no group of voters who are Mike Pence voters. They just don't exist. And so that's just the way it is. And I remind people all the time, it's politics. It's not the question of, do I want you to be my best friend, or do I think you're a good person? It's the question of, do I want you to have this weird job? And the fact that, almost nobody wants North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum to have this weird job is no mark against Doug Burgum. He's still a wildly successful businessman. He's a popular governor of North Dakota. The people I've talked to say he's done a fine job as governor. But there's lots of great people who aren't going to be president of the United States.
Well, and it's interesting you say that, because to me, I would think that, President Trump being in jail on election day would be one of those things, for me at least. But clearly I'm not the average New Hampshire voter, where I would go like, you know what? It sucks. It's unfair. He's in jail. They went after him. They persecuted him. But there's so many other great candidates. We could have somebody who's not in jail. But apparently the New Hampshire Republican primary voters don't feel that way. What is it about this that makes people so passionate? I mean, apparently more people support him from jail than if the primary were today.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but more people support Donald Trump behind bars than all the other candidates combined. Out free. You could argue that the place we want our president is in jail. I mean, there are a lot of upsides to having a president of the United States who's doing time. I can think of. I mean, first of all, you got to think about the first day when Trump shows up in the big house, the Hooskow, the Jug, and orders one of his Secret Service agents to go find the biggest guy in the cell block and beat him up, just to show everyone who's boss. That would be a great moment. Then the negotiating the next trade deal with Mexico through the plexiglass where Trump's holding the phone and he's tapping the screen. Like, pick up the phone. We got to talk on the phone. That would be absolutely fantastic.
I feel like Trump would be popular in jail.
Yeah,
like,
they'd love him.
There's a lot of wheeling and dealing, and
some former administration members are there already, so you can say hi to them.
Exactly.
But so listen, you and I have talked about this, Michael, before, and I have taken a departure from simply voting on the merits to this is now a personal jihad. My feeling now is that Trump is voting for Trump. The more they dirty him up, these corrupt administrative state actors and this administration and the establishment, the more they dirty him up with this absolute horse bleep, the more only a vote for Trump is a refutation of the Beltway and our system as it is right now. And I know that puts me right next to the MAGA hat people, but I'm fine because this sucks. This system sucks. Screwing this guy because he's a New York a-hole is not acceptable to me. And it's okay if, as long as you speak Beltway speak, then yes, you can take money from Ukraine and Romania and China and have your son leave his coke at the White. That's all fine as long as you speak Washingtonese. And Trump, as much of an a-hole as he is the only way to throw a grenade in there. And
okay, Shattuck, you always go one step too far. I am not going to sit here and listen to you claim that cocaine belonged to the son of the President of the United States, Hunter Biden. I will guarantee you this. Hunter Biden has never lost track of a bleeping dime bag of cocaine in his life. He knows where every gram, every fingernail pinch, he knows exactly where it is. So sorry, I'm not buying it.
On the merits, you're right. He does say that.
No way. There is no way. He knows where every line was. Like he could go, but
yes,
he take you on
he
a tour.
Sniffed stuff that was cocaine adjacent, like Parmesan cheese and Rugland.
So it's not buying that. But no, look, there's a lot of merit in your response, and I think one of the things that's happening with to also note, there are national polls showing that a lot of Republicans tell pollsters they would vote for Trump behind bars. That's where we got the question from, was Reuters and Ipsos asked it. It's the state of the party. If you take the Real Clear Politics average right now, Trump, DeSantis, and Vivek Ramaswamy together are between 70 and 75% of the vote. What do they all have in common? They're all on that far end of the, anti-woke, screw the establishment, I'm not here to compromise, I want to punch people in the face wing of the party. That's 75% of the GOP. So the fact is, Trump reflects the state of the party, and the state of the party, a lot of it contains what you're saying, Shattuck, which is everyone knows the game is rigged. So why would we play fair? And you can't argue with the first part. You just can't. I'm sorry. You can't have been involved in American politics since 1998, when we found out that Bill Clinton literally was having relations with an intern in the Oval Office. And for some reason having to do with hating Republicans, he got to keep his job. You kidding me? Forget impeachment, whatever. There was a time before Clinton where you just couldn't have kept, you just had to go. Once it was proven that you did this, sorry, we don't even care, dude. We don't care about the law. We don't care about your marriage. For the sake of this thing we treasure called American democracy, you just have to go away now. And Democrats said, screw that noise. Just hold on to power. It's all about holding on to power. And that's what it's been all the way through when they tried to steal the election in 2000 with Bush v. Gore, when they tried to declare him selected, not elected, when in 2004, they made up this thing about of voting machines in Ohio, and they were going to stop, George W. Bush from getting reelected, and on. You go all the way through to attorneys general who were doing gun scams in Mexico, and then getting called to testify before Congress and ignored a congressional subpoena and had the vote. I forget what they did to him, censure or whatever. And he said, screw you, I don't care. Look, if everyone's going to not care about this whole, I'm just a bill, I'm only a bill kind of thing we had going, then why would you go back to someone who's going to pretend those rules matter? That's for suckers. Right. That's for chumps. And so Trump is the anti-sucker, anti-Trump, candidate. That's who he speaks for. And every day that the Hunter Biden story goes on, Donald Trump gets one step closer to becoming the Grover Cleveland of the 21st century.
Right?
Alice, do you want to explain to Shattuck why he would be the Grover?
I actually did a project on Grover Cleveland in 4th grade. He was elected. He's the only
by the way,
president.
ladies and gentlemen, is frighteningly recent to right now. Just so you know.
The only president elected to 2 non-consecutive terms.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, but I think one of the reasons is there's been no reckoning for any of these things.
Right.
There's no reckoning for Clinton. There was no reckoning for any, even this, we talked to Scott Brown earlier today. There's no reckoning for Scott Brown winning the Senate seat and them still pushing through Obamacare. Mm-hmm. I mean, all of these offenses, all these FUs, we're getting bullied in the playground now for freaking 2.5 decades. And finally, we found an a-hole who's willing to fight as dirty as they fight. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine anybody like Trump, for as much of an a-hole he is. I don't want, even President DeSantis backing down, pulling his Brett Kavanaugh nomination down because everybody's mean. Because only Trump would have stood up to that stuff. Maybe because he's crazy. I don't know why. But it's like at least there was a win. At least we didn't get screwed and bullied in that playground that one time because of this guy.
But what you're going to do now, the math indicates, is probably elect Biden to another 4-year term, which means you're electing Kamala Harris to a 3-year, 11-month, and 3-week term.
Yes, and that's the conundrum because my emotional quest is not.
So here's where we are. Do you remember me saying this to you, Shattuck? 2016. We are going to find out what happens when a candidate who is guaranteed to lose runs against a candidate who cannot possibly win. And that I thought that was so clever of myself at the time. And now here we are again. I'm using the same material. This is where we are. Biden is that bad. And here's what's fascinating to me is there is a bigger chance that Democrats will dump Biden than there is that Republicans will dump Trump. Why? Yeah. It's not because of the rules or anything. It's because Trump actually reflects where the voters are. You would have to override the will of your voters to dump Trump. Mm-hmm. Biden, there's no love for Joe Biden. You can get rid of Biden tomorrow, and like 17 Democrats would care if you replaced him with another Democrat. They don't. There is no passion for him there. And so here's what you're asking yourself. There are 2 tracks. One is new stuff about Trump. With all these cases, whatever, there was new stuff that came out on Wednesday about that they've been searching his Twitter records, which I think is weird because Twitter you do in public. What is it like? Unless it's like direct messages or something, whatever. And then the other thing you learned is $20 million actually went from these corrupt countries to Hunter Biden. No dispute. The White House has acknowledged that the 20 million went from these horrifying places while Joe Biden was vice president. They're just saying, you can't prove he got any. That's your answer? I can't prove he got any?
Yeah, although we know that Hunter was paying bills for his parents.
Right, and that's
no. Never happened. Nothing. Clean as a driven snow. It was very careful. They would only dealt in money orders. They have all the receipts, and they gave the money to a church in Las Vegas. But anyway, my point is, one of these 2 tracks is going to have the information that makes it impossible for the party to keep the guy. Which party is going to be more tolerant of keeping the guy?
Republicans.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
They've already decided.
They're fine. Yeah. Democrats are going to hit a point where they're like, oh my God, you did what? I mean, in all seriousness, when the piece of paper shows up, and you know what's out there, there's an email, a receipt, something that shows a single penny of that money went into his pocket. There's gonna be an explosion, and they're gonna be stuck with what they're stuck with. And this is why I think it's hilarious that Democrats are sticking with this guy. They don't have to.
Well, I mean, the polling. Yeah, right. You're right. Yeah, voters are not necessarily sticking with him. It seems as yet.
Yeah. Why is the Democratic Party sticking with him? And of course, the answer is Kamala Harris. That is what's so funny. What if it comes down to the most profound political decision made of the 21st century, other than going to war in Iraq, was the decision to make Kamala Harris your vice president? Because it guaranteed that you couldn't dump Biden, and then Biden is the only guy who's going to lose to Trump because he's corrupt. That's what's the killer. it's not that he's a lame candidate or he's boring or his policies are wrong. Because, by the way, his policies are bad. I mean, no doubt about it. You look at polling, the American people are closer to Trump on issues than they are with Biden. It's going to be corruption that kills the Biden reelect because it feeds the fundamental premise of the Trump campaign, which is they all suck. So let's all suck. Which Trump guy do you want? Have you guys seen the new MAGA ad that dropped this week?
I don't think so.
You need to pull it up. You need to share it with your thingies or whatever you guys do on your podcast. You need to see this ad because the whole ad is Hunter Biden, total crook. Who's he working for? Joe Biden. And here they're all cookie crook crooks. And it's for people who haven't been following Fox News and so they don't know the story. And it just lays out, here's the millions. Here's Hunter. Here's China. Here's Ukraine. Which crook do you want? Their crook or our crook? Vote for our crook because he's not an as we pay like their crook. Yeah, that's a powerful.
Between two crooks, I'll take the crook who will close the border. I mean, honestly, like at the end of the day, that's where we are.
But notice in August of 2023, with the first in the nation primary 5 months away, notice what's not mentioned in this new ad. Republicans. There's no DeSantis. There's no Scott. It's all the presumed close. That's a sales technique where you're trying to get someone to buy something. You presume that they've already decided to buy, and then you go right to start working out the details of when you're going to pick it up, and is it going to be check or card, whatever. Trump is doing the presumed closed. I'm the nominee. Everyone knows I'm the nominee. Why waste time talking about who's the nominee? Let's get to the job, which is beating Joe Biden. And every day that the press tries to cover for Biden, every day that they don't run those stories, every day that a new development comes out and the press tries to hide it, they make it that much more likely that Republicans who don't like Trump go, fine, I'll take him. At least he's going to go beat the crap out of these jerks.
So, and you're on the ground in New Hampshire. Do you think that the race is finished, the primary race? Some of the polling sure looks that way. I mean, I know we're far away. I know that the New Hampshire voters are open-minded and independent.
Oh, no, they're not. Don't think any of that. None of that is true. They are Republicans. They are Republicans, just like everyone else. Everything's been nationalized. New Hampshire Republicans are Republicans. That's why really weak candidates won the primaries in 2022 and all got their heads handed to them in the races for U.S. Senate and Congress. It's why, the state went big for the Republicans went big for Trump, and Trump lost the state handily by 8 points in 2020. So they're like other Republicans. And I'm not to say it's over because we haven't had the first debate. There's always possible that something can happen in the first debate. I also suspect that Trump will be at the first debate, but not for the obvious Shattuck reasons that he's a insufferable egomaniac who can't stand to stay away from get away from the camera. It'll be for the Alice reason. He can do the math. Trump is flat broke. He has no money. He can't afford to buy TV, whatever, because it's all going to lawyers. He's flat broke, and he's got them, and he hasn't done the expensive part yet, which is going to trial. That's where you really start spending money. So he needs the earned media. So how's he going to walk away from a chance to talk to 30 million Americans? Oh, yeah, sure. There'll be other people talking too. But what does Trump care? Who else is going to be on the stage? Well, Vivek Ramaswamy is going to be on the stage. And what's his attack going to be on Trump? I love you, man. I love you. You're the best guy ever. Mike Pence is going to be on the stage. Please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me. I don't want to go back in the box. Doug Burgum's going to be on the stage. I'm not here to talk about Trump. I'm here to talk about an energy secretary job. I mean, energy policy. So once you work your way through the people who are on stage, who's there going to be take a poke at him?
Well, Christie.
Christie. Yeah, and that's
it. Christie can also telegraph everything Trump's going to say, begging for fundraising money like he did with Rubio on the stage. So, it could land some good hits.
Oh, yeah. So it'll be a dust up between him and Christie, maybe a dust up between him and DeSantis, but mostly it's going to be Trump being Trump. And when Christie says blah, 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 Trump's going to look at him and I don't know if you saw the clip from
Fat Boy,
New Hampshire on Tuesday, where he points at someone in the crowd and says, don't call him a fat pig.
Yes.
Don't call him that. Don't call him a fat pig. That would be rude to call him a fat pig. So you're going to get some, rude comments. And, that'll be, once again, is that going to cause anyone to not vote for Trump? Absolutely not. But if Trump handles Christie, it's really bad for the rest of the field. If Trump doesn't handle Christie, it doesn't really matter that much because Christie, in our polling, we did a poll in mid-June, and we asked people, who's the one person who's running for the Republican primary that you will never support, and Christie was well at the top of that list, 46%.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him high up. Pence, I think, right?
Yep, Pence was 40%. Yeah. So look, there's just no path for those guys.
I was surprised to see Christie as high as he was in this most recent Inside Sources poll.
9% is not high.
Well, no,
9%.
Second place.
But it's 9%. That's what.
But you're only dealing with 36% that doesn't belong to Trump, so it's kind of high for what's left.
Someone asked me today in another interview. They said, about is it over or whatever. They said, well, someone has to be in second place, and I said, well, yeah, someone has to be in second place. But if first place lapped you, what difference does it make? So you're in second place at 9%. Congratulations.
Well, you say that he's got to hit these debates to fundraise, but aren't these indictments fundraising vehicles?
They're not fundraising the way they were. So the first indictment, huge surge in small dollar donations. Second indictment, smaller. Third indictment, smaller. Still, people are just bored. The shock is worn out. That's what was interesting about the New Hampshire Journal, nhjournal.com piece and the poll. Was on the one hand, you read the numbers like, oh my gosh, you'd vote from prison, and oh my gosh, you think he's innocent. Only 25% of Republicans think Trump did anything wrong. Anything.
Yeah.
The other 75% say he's completely innocent, or I don't know if he did, but they're only coming after him because he's Trump. And on the one hand, you think those numbers are pretty astonishing. And then on the other hand, you go, no, actually, that feels about right. And that's where we are. The astonishing has become the mundane in the Trump era. So, Alice, do you want to explain to Shattuck what Monday? We'll do that after the show.
Mundane is the second day of the week, as a matter of fact.
Got it.
So why, if you're Gavin Newsom, why don't you just declare today that you're running? What's the DNC going to stop you? Everybody secretly wants him to run.
You will get killed because Trump. Because Democrats are at the moment think we need Biden to stop Trump. And I think this is speculation, not data driven. But I think where Democrats are, they've moved from we've got to keep Biden because he's the guy who can beat Trump. He can get those blue collar voters, just enough of them in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Georgia to hold. He beat him once, he can beat him again. I think they've abandoned that. I think they're now at we've got to keep Biden because we can't afford to do anything different because we got to stop Trump. And so we just got to, circle the wagons, and we can't show any cracks. We've got to be 100% loyal to stopping Trump. And Biden just happens to be the guy that's in the chair. And if there's someone else in the chair, we'd be doing the same thing. And then they're going to move from that to, holy crap, Biden's going to lose this thing. His stupid son, Hunter, really did give him money. He's been lying the whole time. He was a piece of crap senator. He was a piece of crap vice president. Now he's a piece of crap president, and we got to do something. And that's when it gets really interesting.
I don't think anything happens until Obama steps in with the party and says, you guys have to get rid of this guy. And I think Obama comes and says, Joe is great. We love him. He did an awesome job. He saved America from Trump. He saved democracy. Right. And he did a wonderful job. And now he's going to step aside and somebody else is going to come in. I think that's the only person
when you
in
step
the party.
Aside, you step aside, you have Kamala Harris. See, that's the problem.
But I think, if you step aside as president, but if you say I'm not running for re-election, it's an open.
Well, that's true.
It's an open primary now, and then
you have a disastrous, bloody knife fight with Kamala Harris screaming racist at all of her fellow Democrats, and whoever else, Gretchen Whitmer screaming sexist at all of our fellow Democrats, and
Pete Buttigieg saying homophobic, and everybody
exactly.
else.
Pete Buttigieg screaming you're all gay haters, and on and on and on. It is so
well. That would be incredible, considering who's the congressman from South Carolina who gave Biden South Carolina.
Jim Clyburn, who, by the way, I was down in South Carolina about 4 or 5 months ago visiting family, and I stopped on the interstate to get gas and some snacks, and I just love this. I come around a corner by the donuts, and who's standing there? Jim Clyburn.
It's great.
And I actually ran candidates against him back in the day before I came to TKK when I was still doing political work. So he knew he didn't recognize my face because obviously you don't hang out with your opponents that much. But as soon as I introduced myself and said my name, he kind of drew back. I said, no, it's okay. I'm out of the business. And he actually, no joke, direct quote. You're not moving back down here, are you?
Wow.
No, Congressman. You're fine. He is a really nice guy and a very talented politician, no doubt about it.
Let me ask you something.
And a crazy liberal. I mean, totally crazy nuts liberal.
The just to play psychologist here for a moment. 81 million people were so convinced that Trump was the Führer and had given us the coronavirus and et cetera, that they voted for Joe Biden.
Right.
How many of those people will see Trump's corruption as being offset by Biden's corruption and say, you know what, I'm just going to stay home and day drink this election day?
Not as many as the people who voted for Trump which I forget the number, in 2020, and saw what he did after the election, and saw January 6th, and saw the constant election denials, and saw his willingness to embrace stupidity and just go, screw this noise. I can't play.
So that's interesting.
I ain't voting for Biden. I'm staying home.
That's interesting. So that's about 73 million, I think, who shut up for Trump.
This is a different Trump. This is the January 6th Trump. And then you add something else, which is Dobbs. And so, the Dobbs effect is still there. Trump is an interesting candidate in the sense that he's really not pro. I mean, he just doesn't care about abortion.
Right.
I mean, he's not. But so he made a transactional deal. In his speech in New Hampshire, he repeatedly said, I mean, he pounded it away to an audience that didn't really want to hear it. I support exceptions for rape, incest, life, and the mother. We cannot get crazy out here. We've got to do that. We've got to support these exceptions. He knows where the voters are. That's his talent, not his superpower. His talent is he knows where the voters are. His superpower is that he gets everyone else to reveal their supervillain.
Yes.
He gets everyone to show you them at their worst. He doesn't do it. This is always hilarious to me. He doesn't make you be your worst. You choose to be your worst. Right. You could choose. This is why I'm so for me, politics has always been my sports. I love the game. It doesn't bug me if you don't agree with me. People are not going to like him because he's a liberal. What do I care what your politics are? Is he a nice guy?
Right.
Does he know how to drink? Does he put hot dog on a ketchup? Ketchup on a hot dog? Forget him. He's out of here. But I don't care about his politics. This is no fun. This is just no fun. Watching everybody not do their jobs. Imagine. I have this world for you to imagine, Alice Shattuck. Imagine if Trump becomes president and the media says he's just another politician. We're going to do our job. Imagine that world. Imagine Trump running for president and the FBI saying he's just another politician. We're going to do our job. Imagine the Department of Justice. Imagine everybody just doing their job. If they had done that, I don't know if Trump would have made it out of his first term. He'd have had no support. He'd have gone nowhere. He'd have been flailing the whole time because people would just do their job. Or actually, I think would have happened. I think what would have happened is that within the first year, he would have completely reversed himself on every issue except maybe the Supreme Court, gone to the Democrats and cut all kinds of deals. They'd be building the Trump tunnel to New York and the Trump Skyway, and he would be shoving money out of airplanes over the skies of blue states to show and cutting deals with Democrats. That's what I think you got.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. And I think even for someone like me who I reluctantly voted for Trump in 2016 and then I voted for him in 2020, and I probably am not going to vote for him in the primary, but I'll vote for him in the general, what it looks like he's going to be the nominee. Every time I think I'm done with Trump because he just self-sabotages so much, it's not Trump that makes me go back to wanting to vote for Trump. Of course not. It's the media's and the left's weird behavior about him that's so psychotic that I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm back to Trump now because you guys can't act normal. I don't know what it is. He's the only one who can sabotage his own campaign at this point. I believe that.
I agree. So two quick things. One is Trump is the ultimate W.C. Fields candidate. W.C. Fields was asked who he was voting for in the upcoming election. He said, I never vote for anyone. I always vote against. And the second thing is, you're right about Trump being the only person who can beat Trump. And this is why the DeSantis strategy has been the smart strategy, separate from the quality of the candidate all along. So DeSantis' strategy has been, I'm going to be Trump light. And everyone who yelled at him going, you need to attack Trump. You can't win being Trump light. The only way you can win is by being Trump light, is by being an acceptable alternative, so that if for whatever reason indictments, lawsuits, Asian hookers, whatever. Trump just can't be the choice of a majority of Republicans anymore. Then they look around and go, God, I'd love to have Trump. Can't I have him? Hey, this DeSantis guy, he's a lot, he's pretty much like Trump Jr. Okay, I'll go with Trump Jr.
Yeah.
That's the only way to win this nomination. You're not going to win it by convincing Republican primary voters you don't want Trump, because you're wrong. They do want Trump. So.
Well,
yeah.
I mean,
I thought it was done, to be honest with you, when he was selling NFTs. I thought like the online trading cards. I thought I was like, okay, listen, nobody can possibly take this seriously anymore. This has to be over.
Back to the do your job part. What if the DOJ had not been on a mission to indict Trump no matter what, and the other Democrats too? What if they just ignored him?
I think DeSantis would be polling a lot better.
Oh yeah.
I think if they had ignored him and not given him this stuff, if the press, once again, just treated him like a politician, and hear this crackpot again with his "I won the election," blah blah, and just ignored him, the awful rollout that he did back in November. Remember that terrible speech in Mar-a-Lago?
Yep.
And the NFTs and he came to New Hampshire soon after and gave a speech at the state party convention. It was terrible. People left going, I want to sign up for DeSantis right now. If just ignored him, he wouldn't be where he is. But they have made him Trump. And of course, there are a lot of Republicans who think that that's the point, that they believe Trump can't win the general. He's the only person who can lose to Joe Biden. And so they've got to do what they did in 2022, which is back weak candidates, get them the nomination, and then roll over them in the general. And it worked. You can't argue their success. Democrats spent about $50 million, for example, in New Hampshire. They helped two terrible candidates, one for U.S. Senate and one for Congress, become the nominees. They sent in a bunch of money. A group linked to Mark Elias sent in a bunch of illegal mail on behalf of a Republican in the Republican primary. By the way, no one's being prosecuted for that. Thank you, Biden, DOJ. And so it worked in 2022. Why not bring it back in 2024?
Yeah. So we'll let you go. I just have one last observation I have. Just think 10 years ago, what's this, 2023? So 11 years ago, we were doing the show, the Michael Graham Show on WTKK. Just think about these personalities and what has happened since, mostly as a result of Donald Trump. We used to have steadily on the show Jennifer Rubin, unrecognizable, Bill Kristol. As a matter of fact, a bunch of Weekly Standard people, and that's gone. And remember Ralph Peters? He went sideways.
Yep.
And Michael Yon is a different cat than when you and I talked to him. I still like him, and he's enjoyable, but it's a whole new universe. It's like, man,
I got some other names for you.
Sure.
Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Who was Joe Biden in 2013? He was this chuckle buns vice president that his own president was telling people never underestimate the ability of Joe Biden to bleep this up.
He was every producer's dream, Joe Biden.
Absolutely. He was our B-roll of comedy. He was always there. The greatest audio clip of all time. How many times do you think we played it? Of him doing the
stand-up Chuck?
It all comes down to what Barack Obama calls one 3-letter word.
J-O-B-S.
Jobs.
Oh, I should have gotten that folder. I probably haven't.
B. Because the best part, Alice, wasn't that he said Jobs. The best part was that he then spelled out all 4 letters.
Yeah,
that was the best part.
Although stand-up Chuck was pretty good too.
So, stand up Chuck. And so think about how different we see him today. I got another one for you. Donald Trump.
Yes.
2013, Donald Trump president. Come on, it was an eye roll. He was screwing up the birth certificate thing.
Yeah,
he was just this TV buffoon whose shows ratings were wobbling around, and the notion, not that he would run for president, but that he would be the single most transformative person in American politics since Ronald Reagan. If you had tried to write that like science fiction novel, something, you couldn't have gotten there. The only way you get there is everybody else. Their supervillains made Trump who he is. It was not Donald Trump.
Yeah, they loved him in 2015. He was still going on The View. Oh, man.
Yeah. Joe Scarborough had him on how many thousands?
Joe Scarborough.
Times?
Yes.
I mean, once again, all the transformations that you look back and you think about, what?
Well, Scarborough, I think it's straight up prostitution because he is a really nice guy. You've met him, right, in New Hampshire?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. We'll be checking them back in with New Hampshire at the New Hampshire Journal, nhjournal.com. Michael, thank you very, very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Were you recording this?
Oh, no.
Whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Not whatsoever. No. We appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Hasta la bye-bye.